Hey guys, welcome to Super Important Views. My name is Steve, and in this video we're going over the NECA Pacific Rim Series 5 Anchorage Attack Jaeger Gipsy Danger with battle damage. This is another Gipsy Danger, and I repeat, another Gipsy Danger in the NECA Pacific Rim series. Now, I know personally that I'm getting a little bit winded of all these Gipsy Dangers that are being released, but this one actually is a little bit cool to me because hopefully it does work really well with my battle damage Knifehead, because this is from that scene from the film where him and Knifehead have their epic confrontation off of Anchorage. And I'm really hoping that that works really well with that figure because I love that fight scene because it's very reminiscent of a Godzilla film for me. So that's pretty much what gives this figure a little bit of merit for me, and especially since he comes with a plasma cannon, like that's actually a first with these littler figures anyways. And I already know I'm not planning on picking up the next Gipsy Danger because literally this figure, battle damage on the next side, and some of the stuff changed a little bit, and he comes with a sword. Another sword! So I don't really plan on picking up the figure unless I really have to. So without further ado, for the packaging, literally the same we began with all the other Pacific Rims with the series before it. Has a kaiju kill count of 10, which is pretty sweet. On the bottom of the package, just tells you he's an all new figure with battle damage, who he is. Got a nice concept image of him on the bottom corner here. Nothing really on the sides here. On the back of the packaging, tells you he's a Mark III Jaeger. Gives you a symbol underneath the Gipsy Danger here. Gives you a nice image of the figure inside the packaging. It also tells you some of the other figures with Tacit Ronin, Hong Kong Brawl, Gipsy Danger, and Romeo Blue, which will be coming out soon. And that's pretty much it. Some mumbo jumbo on the bottom. Let's get him open up out of his plastic prison. Alright, so now Anchorage is open up out of his prison. First we're going to go over his accessories, which is a fist and a forearm. Which the fist looks very nice, has a lot of very good molded details. Some of this metallic blue and black paint in there really helps to make it a little bit of an eye-catching piece. Pretty much the exact same thing we got Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger, but it still looks really good. You also get the forearm here, which pretty much the same thing with that too. No real noticeable battle damage, just some of the paint's a little bit blemished and whatnot, but it still has the same metallic blue and black that you see a lot on the other Gipsy Danger back here. And it even has some of the pinstriping here with the red and the white, so that's really nice. Then what you do is you just take your fist, you insert it into the hole here. Pretty simple stuff. A little stiff, but there we go. And then what this is for is if you really don't want the plasma cannon on the Anchorage Attack Gipsy, you can swap it out with the fist. And what I think is actually pretty sweet about them giving us this is that if you don't want the plasma cannon on this version of the Gipsy Danger, you can actually take it off and put it on the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger, which I'll show here in a minute. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab as close to the ball joint here as possible to relieve as much stress off that peg as possible. In case it's a pretty big peg there, but I would still worry about snapping it. And then you just apply some pressure, start pulling it out. I like to wiggle it a little bit here and there, and it pops off pretty easily without the hairdryer. The one thing that is kind of hard is getting this one on, because I notice mine's really tight. I'm going to try to get it on right now without the hairdryer, just to show you guys, and it's going, slowly but surely. And there we go. So if you want it, you can have it with the fist on there. So that's pretty neat. And what's also neat is he has the peg hole here for the sword. So if you have the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger again, you can just insert the sword into here to make some pretty good use out of this arm and this Gipsy as well. And what's also neat is, again, this can actually go on the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger. So if you got him, you grab your Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger. Again, grab as close to the ball joint as you can. Wiggle it a little bit just to loosen it up. Pull it off. Pop on the cannon here. Pretty easy on this guy, which it looks really nice on the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger, which actually in my Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger would actually stand up appropriately. He did like to tip over a little bit after doing that review. He stands up pretty well, but you have to get him securely positioned. But this is more of a review for him, but still, it does look really cool if you put it on the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy, which I actually kind of like this look, so it does give this guy a lot more of a selling point in my opinion, just to make this figure even better. And just to show you guys, if you have the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger's chainsword, goes right into the peg hole down here, shove it right in there, stays in there pretty nicely. And again, it looks really cool on this figure, and it's a really nice compliment if you have the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy. Really helps to make this figure even better as well. Alright, so after reattaching Gipsy's plasma cannon hand, One thing that is a little bit of a bummer for this figure, for me anyways, is with the original Battle Damage Gipsy Danger that they put out, one of my major complaints was I wish they would have went a little bit more crazier with the battle damage. What you see here is what they did, but I'm going to reiterate again. Wish they would have went a little bit more crazier with the battle damage here, because going into some of the closer details, for the helmet, looks pretty cool, because you see on this side, very Gipsy Danger, very clean, looks really nice. Really like this red little pinstripe here. And then you start turning the head and oh my god! You'll see right here that this is the battle damage that you've seen from the film where Knifehead literally digs his nails into the side of Gipsy's helmet here, ripping out a large chunk of the helmet and also taking Raleigh's brother Yahtzee with him. And it's really cool what they did here with a lot of the black paint, and there's a lot of effects going on here. It's even this yellow paint here too, where I imagine it's replicating the sparks that you see flying off at the time, where a lot of the wiring electronics are severed and you get a lot of those sparks there, so that's pretty cool. And there's even like a little nail impression here on the back of the head. But I wish it went in a little bit farther, because to me that's not very shallow. Where in the film it literally goes inside the cockpit, so you would have been able to see like towards the inner portion of this. Which, it would have been cool. I imagine that would have been really hard to do on the figure without making it really breakable. So I give this a pass still, but it just would have been a lot more aesthetically pleasing if that was a little bit deeper. And the same here with the gash here, which this is towards the end of the fight where Knifehead is literally digging the front of his face into this. Actually, just grabbing my Knifehead real quick. In the scene, you see Knifehead literally digging his face into his chest, and you see Gipsy Danger like withering in pain, where he's like, no, no. But the one thing that's kind of a bummer is it doesn't go in very deep, which in the film he actually gets in there pretty good. And I would have wished that again it would have been conveyed a lot nicer, because it would have been really cool to actually have his face inside of Gipsy's body. Like, that would have been a really awesome little display piece that you could have done with this figure. Which is kind of lost on this because, again, it's just not very deep on the figure. Which, I imagine, again, it's the same problem for here, too. I imagine where if it was a lot deeper, it would have hurt the structural integrity of the figure. But this one, I could see them actually being able to at least do a little bit better. And it just would have made for a really awesome little set piece on your display. And the same, getting Knifehead out here. The same over here too on the arms here. So I wish there was a little bit more damage, because there's quite a lot up here. On the film, he's lost like a good portion of it down here as well, on a lot of his armor plating and whatnot. Which on here still looks pretty clean. You'll see a little bit more of the dinging up back here. But I wish this was a lot more damage than it already was. But it's still pretty cool. What they got here too, though, is where you got a lot of the wiring from the severed arm when Knifehead, making another appearance, digs his face into his arm joint here and literally just rips off his arm. Which is why this Gipsy Danger doesn't come with an arm. And it's cool that they got a lot of the wiring coming off here. Again, a lot of the yellow paint, which I imagine is for the sparking kind of effect going on. Or could possibly be hydraulic fluid, but I like the idea of it sparking off all over the place. But there's still a lot of really nice details in here regardless, where you see a lot of the damages up here, and this plate's kind of hiding a little bit, lifted up a little bit so you guys can see it a little better. Looks really cool, and they still got a lot of the gnarly details in here. Just wish I went a little bit crazier with it. Most of the rest of the body is relatively the same, where you got the nice little yellow and orange paint here for the reactor. Really helps to make it stand out. Some nashes here on the armor here, right up here. Some more of the pinstriping up here at the top of the shoulders. A lot of really nice details that they kind of kept with the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy with here on the chest piece. Same with his metallic abdomen here, looks really cool. On the back here, you'll see some of the thrusters, a lot of the plating, more of the damage up here with some silver paint used for the scratch marks, more of the pinstripe down here. And even with the paint job, it's a lot dirtier looking than Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy, where it has a lot more black paints here inside of the metallic blue that they got. Which really helps to give the figure a lot more of a dirtier look to it, like it's really been through hell. So I like the paint job overall in this figure. Then you got some of the vents here, metallic spine coming down here, looks really cool. More of the damage on his tushk. Knifehead's been checking out that ace. And then coming to the arm here, which is not nearly as damaged as you think that would be as well, because the only real scuff marks I seen on here were right here next to the ginormous 34 here. Because that's pretty much it that I really see on here, personally. And this plasma canyon here looks really sweet too. Really love that they actually decided to give us this actual piece, which is something I've been wanting for a long time now. Kind of a bummer it's on a battle damaged figure, but I'll take it where I can. Looks really cool. It's got this little white paint here to symbolize that it's active and getting ready to go pew pew. And there's some little absence of paint here as well, which again helps to kind of convey the damagedness of the figure. And then you can see more of the pinstriping here on the arm here. I really love the expanded look on it, while also grabbing his other arm. You can see here that they kept with the proportion of the sizes for a lot of the plating here. Like, it looks relatively the same to me, which is really nice in terms of the overall design aspects. This could, no, it's pretty much the same there too. Same with the plating down here. It's just I don't really know where this section came from, because on here it's one solid piece and on here it's kind of a block, so that's a little odd. And then for his legs, you see a lot more of these scuffing marks here as well, with a lot of the silver paint here to convey the scratches, which there is some indents on here. Like, a lot of this is just surface paint for the scratches here, but on the legs there's a little bit of nick marks here and over here, which they didn't actually paint over, which is gives it some variety, which is cool. You'll see a lot more of the pinstriping here on the legs here for the red. Then going around, just show you guys the back here, where it has a little bit more copper paint down here for some of the cylinder areas and over the vents here, which actually gives the figure a lot more detail, which I wish they would have maybe done it a little bit more throughout the figure instead of just right here at the bottom, because it does help to make it stand out a little bit better, which is really cool. So overall, in terms of details, it's a nice looking figure. Again, really wish they would have let a lot crazier on the battle damage, but it's still pretty cool. Then go over this articulation real quick. His head can look left, right, a little bit up, a little bit down. It's just a little bit hard to get him to move around because of all this plastic around here, but you still get a little bit of posability there. This actually does have some posability where you can rotate it all the way around. It's on a ball joint, so you get a little bit of play with it. Just be a little wary of the loose wires hanging around down here, because if you try to use this as a point, I imagine this would probably break off you pretty easily. So let's try to stick up here as much as possible when using the rotation. Over here, his shoulder is also on a ball joint in this, so it can go all the way around. The shoulder pad here has an articulated joint, so you get a lot of movement there. Has a rotation here at the upper part of the bicep. And what's cool is they actually kept the little segment right here where his little muscle here can move up and down a bit, which I might, it's a little bit stiffer, which I actually like, because on the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy these popped off pretty easy. But what this does is it gives you a little bit easier movement with the elbow joint here, so he can move his arms up a little bit higher than normally, because if you had this thing all the way down, it could only really bend here, but once you lift that bad boy up, get even more bend to it. So that's a cool little idea that NECA had to add to this figure to help with the articulation a lot. But at the elbow, you can move back and forth as a rotation here because it's on a ball joint. And that's pretty much it for that arm. And then if you attach the other hand to it, can't seem to find it at the moment. Then grab the other hand here. This is on a ball joint, so it can rotate all the way around and has a little bit of pivot to it, which is really nice. At the upper part of his abdomen here has a rotation. Can also has a nice tummy crunch. A lot of his joints in this figure initially when I got him were really stiff, and the abdomen was one of them that was a bit of a pain to work into. But it's nothing that just a little bit of play can't get out. Then up here at the top part of the legs, his leg can move forward, back. His legs can move in and outwards, which is cool. Has a double joint here at the knee, which is really nice. He has the joint here and right down here, so gets a really nice bend to the leg here. And then at his feet, they're on a ball joint, but they don't really have too much of a pivot here. They just can rotate a bit. They can move not really much side to side. And then he also has a bend here at the toes. So with the articulation, it's pretty much the same that we got the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy, so it's still really nice. Legs can't really move out that much farther, but again, it's a lot of the plastic here. You don't really ever see Gipsy Danger really moving that much in the film, because these guys are big, bulky NECA, so the articulation for me still conveys it pretty nicely. But the one thing, I wish there was still a little bit better bend here at the elbow, but it's just pretty much the way it was designed. It's just not really too much you can do with it to improve on that bend. But overall, still been pretty impressed with the articulation on these figures. So for some quick comparison, here is with the rest of his brothers with Gipsy Danger 1.0, Battle Damage Gipsy Danger 1.0, and Hong Kong Bro Gipsy or Gipsy 2.0. And here he is with his nemesis, Battle Damage Knifehead. And here he is with some NECA Godzilla with Godzilla 1984 or 85 and Godzilla 2014. And here's some SH Monster Arts figures with Mecha Godzilla 2 and Godzilla Jr. Your arm is mine. And here he is with the NECA 24-inch long Godzilla 2014, because this is how I imagine this fight would be. So overall, Anchorage Attack Gipsy Danger, he looks really good. The overall detail on him is really nice. Would have wished it would have been a little bit crazier with the battle damage, but it still looks pretty gnarly nonetheless. And his articulation is really good on the figure. So in terms of an action figure, he's still pretty awesome. But the one thing that I can see this figure having a problem with is, for most people, I can see not really having much of an interest in this figure. Because for one, they already released a bunch of Gipsy Danger, so he's kind of fighting a place with a lot of them. Because a lot of them are just a lot nicer looking gypsies and very clean figures. And most people are either going to want a Gipsy Danger because they just really like the character, or they just want a nice representation of the character from the film, which I don't think this figure does very well. But what this figure does really well is help tell a story and really works well with the Battle Damage Knifehead, or complementing the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger and giving him even more accessories. So if you really love to recreate your favorite scenes from the film, especially the Anchorage Attack scene, or if you're just a completionist because you're going to grab this figure regardless, then this figure is for you. So what do you guys think? Have you guys got Anchorage Attack Gipsy Danger? What's your favorite fight scene from Pacific Rim, or Scar's just not your thing? Please let us know in the comments. We'll have closer pictures of him on Facebook. You want to click the link in the description below. Please don't be afraid to share this video around. If you like this and want to see more stuff like this, please give us a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Hey guys, welcome to Super Important Views. My name's Steve, and in this video I'll be going over the NECA Pacific Rim NECA Tacit Ronin. And yes, I looked up how to pronounce it before I did this review. No more mispronunciations from me. But if you guys don't remember this guy from the film, I don't blame you, because there was literally only about 1 second glimpse of him in the prologue where he's kind of rising up behind some ashes. And he looked pretty sweet even though for that short glimpse, so I'm glad that they're giving us this figure. It also gives us a little bit more variety for our NECA collection. But we'll know if he was worth it after we get him out of the packaging. So for the packaging, really love his clear display prison here. Looks really sweet. Really like that you can see the figure on the inside of it. Up at the top here, just gives you the name of the movie. Tells you his kaiju kill count, which is 3. And then, not too much here on the bottom, just tells you who he is. Then for the back of the packaging, gives you a nice image of the figure in the packaging, with him being a Mark 1, so he's one of the original NECAs. At the bottom just tells you all the other figures that are coming out with him, Anchorage Attack Gipsy Danger, and Romeo Blue. And that's pretty much it. It's going to open up out of his plastic prison. Now that we have Tacit Ronin out of his prison, he looks awesome. Like overall with the details here, really love the way the paint job came out on him, where he has this light gray metallic paint with a little bit of dark grays in here, which really helps to give him a very weathered look, and it looks really sweet. Really like the head sculpt on this guy, and he has some more yellowish gold paint on here to reflect the eyes and the visors. And overall, it's a very pointy head. Like, I'm pretty sure overall looking, especially at the upper part of this body, he looks like something I've created in the game called Armored Core. Because he just has like a nice agile, lightweight mech kind of look to it. And I'm pretty sure I played with you once before. But the head sculpt's really sweet. And overall, I really like the body too, where it has more of this angled look to it. Gives him a very differentiating characteristics between him and like Gipsy Danger, where he's more like normal human shaped. And same with a lot of the other NECAs, while he has definitely more of like a cockpit kind of look to it. And then he's got like some little cylinders sticking out here, which is pretty cool. Then back here, don't know what that is, but it's sweet nonetheless. And then you can see back here he's got a little bit more of an exoskeleton kind of look to him. And the same with the paint job here for the rest of the mech, where it's more of a gunmetal color with some metallic flakes in it and some more silvers. It's really nice, and again, gives a really nice weather look. And even back here, like the attention to the detail this guy has, like he even has little wires here that are made out of this soft rubber going into his legs for his hydraulics and whatnot. So that's pretty sweet. Another thing that's kind of weird about him is that for his shoulders here, they're very far to the back. And looking at it from the top, you can even see that they're a little bit more angled that way. So again, it just makes him seem really mechish to me because it's not very human looking, because it would need to be a lot more up towards the front. That's just another very interesting characteristic that they gave him. And you can see here for his arms, where he has, for his hand, he has one open hand and one closed hand ready to deck yet, which is pretty awesome. And then you can also see right here, there's little blades, which is actually part of his little gimmick, where they extend out, where you just kind of grab the tip here and start pulling on it. And then you just keep bringing it out till it stops moving. And this side, it's really stiff and it sticks out about that far. This side, on the other hand, is really easy. It just slides right out. But these look awesome. Really fierce looking, and it's very different from what we got with Eureka Striker, where it kind of came out like a scissors. And these things look like they would just mess up some kaiju's day, where you'd just be all like, "Hutsya! Good night, sweet prince." Another thing to point out with these is that they're very sharp here. Like, you wouldn't cut yourself on, but it's very pointy, and I would just be very careful when playing with this. So these are a really nice addition to the character. And something, again, you don't really see from the film, because we pretty much see him in that little prologue scene. He's just kind of like, he's on the kind of kneeling, and then he just kind of stands up. So you really don't know what's fully going on with him. So it's something that they could have just left out with the gimmick here and gone a little on the easier side. But I'm glad that they added it to the character. You know, like, sure, he probably already had it, but this is a nice addition to him. And then for his legs, you see here he's got a little insignia on the side of his leg, which is pretty neat. Nothing on this side, except for this side of the leg looks a lot more filthy compared to the other ones. There's a lot more grays in here, with this just being a lot more of a lighter shade. And then for his legs are a little bit more in the chicken leg pattern, which is pretty neat. And the only other Jaeger that we really have that's mostly like this is Crimson Typhoon. So I'm glad he's got like a smaller, skinnier little cousin. And then for his feet, he's got a little two pointed toes, which this one's kind of bent in, but nothing a hairdryer can't fix. And that's pretty much it for the details. Overall, I'm just very impressed with the way this guy turned out. Love the paint applications, and just the detail on here is phenomenal. And then for his articulation, his head can look left, right, all the way around. For his torso, took me a little bit of getting him kind of worked in there, but it can pretty much go all the way around. Just takes a little bit of effort. For his arms, they got a hinge here so they can go up and down a little bit. Also can rotate, which is really nice. For his elbow here, it's a nice bend to it. Also has a rotation here at the upper part of his bicep. And then for his hands, they're also on ball joints, and they rotate all the way around. Just to let it be known that the open hand here kind of smacks into the blade a little bit, so you got to kind of position it while you're moving around. Well, the closed fist hand isn't quite as big of a deal. For his legs, they can move outward about that far, which is pretty neat. He has two ball joints here for each of the legs, and it's more of like a little cylinders kind of sticking out here, which is very unique for this Jaeger. And then can move inward about that far. For his leg, it can move forward about yay far. You can't really move too much far back. What's really nice is here he has a double joint at the knee. So he has a swivel here and also right here. It's just on mine, it's really freaking stiff. Just to show you guys on this knee that I can actually do that. There we go. And then for his feet, they're also on a ball joint, so get a nice rotation and a pivot. And for some quick comparison, here's Tacit Ronin compared next to NECA's Eureka Striker and Crimson Typhoon. Which to me, these guys seem to draw a lot of inspiration from Tacit Ronin, with Eureka Striker having the blade weaponry reminiscent of him, and also the more slimmer head and just more kind of new agey style to him. While Crimson Typhoon has the more chicken legs just like he does, and with the more slimmer head style and just overall awkward body type. And here is a NECA's axe head who still wants to cuddle. And here is with the NECA's 1994 Godzilla and the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 2014. And here is with the NECA 24-inch long Godzilla 2014, which doesn't seem like a fair fight. So overall, Tacit Ronin, I love this thing. The amount of detail on this guy is awesome. Paint application is fantastic. The articulation is very good on this guy. And even the little blade accessories are just sweet. And he's a very unique looking Jaeger with everybody else that's been released. And I'm very glad that NECA decided to give us this guy, and he's by far actually probably one of my more favorite Jaegers as of right now. So if you guys are a big fan of Pacific Rim, you guys will be a big fan of Tacit Ronin. So what do you guys think? You guys like Tacit Ronin? What figures would you guys like to see from Pacific Rim? Or is 2 seconds not long enough screen time for you guys? Please let us know in the comments. We'll have closer pictures on Facebook. If you want to click the link in the description below. Please don't be afraid to share this video around. And if you like this and want to see more stuff like this, please give us a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Hey guys, welcome to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steve, and in this video we'll be going over the NECA Pacific Rim Jaeger Horizon Brave. He's from the film Pacific Rim, and if you guys don't remember where this Jaeger's from, don't blame you, because he's only really in the prologue where you see him on the assembly line, because he's one of the first Jaegers created, because he's a Mark 1. And also he appears on the cover of the Pacific Rim Tales of Year 1 comic book. I mainly decided to pick this guy because he's a new Jaeger. Want to really help support the extra figure line so that they'll actually produce more of the things that I actually want. Even though I really do like this Jaeger, especially how he looks. He looks pretty sweet. And also he's featured in the film, so can't really go around and purchasing this guy. Because the more we support these figures, the less reproductions of Gipsy Danger we will be getting, because my wife will not let me buy any more of those Gypsies. So without further ado, for the packaging, like the packaging overall for these Pacific Rim figures, we got the open clamshell packaging on the front where you can see the figure on the inside. Looks awesome. He's also got spring-loaded projectiles, which we'll go over in a few. Bottom just tells you his name, Jaeger Horizon Brave, gives you a nice concept image of the figure in the box. And you can see at the top of the packaging that his kaiju kill count is 2, which I'm not actually sure what the kaiju's name was that he killed, but I know the one was in Manila with, I believe it was, if I'm not getting this confused, it's Gipsy Danger and Eureka Striker, and the other kill was with Coyote Tango and Lucky Sevens. Nothing's on the side of the packaging here, and at the back of the packaging, get a nice image of the figure inside of the packaging. Tells you that he's a Mark 1 Jaeger. No discernible logos for this guy. And some of the other figures in the line with Romeo Blue, Horizon Brave, and another Gipsy Danger. With Battle at the Docks Gipsy Danger, because we really need a Gipsy Danger with shipping containers. Which, to be honest, it's kind of cool. Really wish they just would have included this stuff in the Hong Kong Brawl Gipsy Danger version, because it would have made sense, you know? But I guess it's to keep the cost down, and without these guys, we wouldn't get the other figures in the line anyway, so it's one of them necessary evils, you know? And some legal mumbo jumbo. So let's get this guy opened up out of his plastic prison. Alright, so now that we open up out of his plastic prison, you might be wondering, why is he kind of disassembled here? Well, when I opened him out of the packaging, this guy literally did not have an abdominal crunch, which what I mean is, for the joint here when he's put together, he looks like this initially, and this part would not bend for the life of me, like he literally was just stagnant. And initially, I thought that maybe that just wasn't actually a joint there, but after a little bit of tinkering, found out that there's actually a joint here. He's supposed to be able to move back and forth. But I decided to tear this guy apart just to fix that joint for you guys, so you guys can see it fully articulated, because mine had one slight little problem, which what happened is this is the joint that goes on the inside of here. And what this does is this allows for him to do his abdominal crunch. But since there was paint on the inside of here, and there's actually quite a bit of Axis paint on the inside of here, and same with on the inside of here, and what was happening is it was causing too much friction so that it literally wouldn't move. Like when I started to try to do the articulation here, it literally just was snap, snap, snap. I was just really worried about breaking this joint, so I decided to tear it apart. And just wanted to go over the little bit of process that I went to get to this. Is what happened is when he's fully assembled, what you're going to do is you're going to take a hair dryer to this section, which these things were actually on the side of here as well, which this is supposed to represent his tummy. There's one for both sides. So what you're going to want to do is when these are together, you're going to take a hair dryer and you're going to aim it in this area right here. You're going to want to take your hair dryer, heat this up as much as you can. And then what this will do is it'll soften the plastic a little bit so you could pop him off the top of here for the peg right here. And then also when you're taking your hair dryer, you want to heat these up as well, because what this will do is loosen the glue up a little bit. Especially when I was doing mine, you notice that this part got really soft and it just really started just to peel away all by itself. And then once you get that off, your next little problem is you're going to have to get this peg out from this peg hole right here. Which what this does is this will keep the articulated joint in so that it's not just going to be popping out. And it goes right through here too. So when this is all the way in, what you're going to do is, again, take your hairdryer, heat up both sides of the peg right here, and then you just take a screwdriver and you literally just push it right out of there. It's pretty easy to do once you get it heated up enough. And then once you get that out, this part pops out really easy. And then what I did was I just took a little bit of like a little sander drill, sanded off a bit of the Axis paint, and then what I'm going to do is reassemble it, and hopefully that fixes my articulation problem. Okay, so after doing a little bit more tinkering, what I had to do is I made the hole here a little bit bigger so that these could easily go through it, because the initially the peg holes were a little bit too big for this, so I was like trying to just cram this thing in there. It was a pain in the butt, so I shrunk these down a little bit. Sorry, made this a little bit bigger. And then I actually shrunk this down a little bit right here with the grinder. As you can see, it kind of bends in a little bit more. And what this did is it actually gave this, when it was sitting here, a lot more freedom of movement. So once I got everything all situated now, push that right through. Then gotta find the sweet spot to get the pop back in. Come on, where is that sweet spot? Oh, I feel it. Feel the sweet spot. Alright, there we go. I got the push through. Alright, so once you get it in, now he has a little bit more freedom of movement, but there's still enough of the plastic on the inside so that it can still move backwards far enough. But at least he's now got some articulation, so I can actually properly review him. And now we have him fully assembled. As you can see, the little ball is right back where it's supposed to be, and he now has articulation. Yeah. I'm actually pretty proud of myself. This is actually the first time I've ever really gone on my way to fix anything on these guys. Alright, so now that we got this guy fixed with no issues at all anymore, just want to point out to you guys that if you guys aren't very comfortable with fixing your own figures, because I mainly did this just to save me a little bit of time and not having to actually return this guy. Personally, I would recommend returning him unless you're very comfortable with fixing your figures yourself. Or just get a hold of NECA personally, because I hear their customer service is actually really good and they are very helpful with fixing the figures if anything is actually wrong with them. So I personally would go with that route, but just for time constraints and I really wanted to get this review out because it's already taking too long for my liking, just decided to do it myself. Alright, so for a closer look at his details, I actually really like the head sculpt on this guy. Very reminiscent of like a security camera, which is pretty cool. Different look for a lot of these Jaegers where he just kind of looks like he's always watching. Always. And just it's a pretty cool, like I like the green paint on the inside of there, pretty unique for these guys. And then just the upper body of this guy in general is freaking ginormous, especially with how tiny, adorable this head is. It just kind of contradicts everything about this upper body, which is something that I can really appreciate. Especially with these giant turbines, which actually are missile pods, which is something that's pretty sweet. Something a little bit different, because the only other person that really utilized weapons on their shoulders would be Coyote Tango that I know of. But for him, what these missile pods do is they actually fuel his melee attack, which I can't remember the official name. I'm just going to call it the Cryo Punch, which what he would do is you punch kaijus in the face, and when he would do that, it would freeze when he came into contact with their skin. Kind of like what you see happen with Gipsy Danger and Otachi's tail when he freezes the tail and he's like, just smashes it. Just pretty much his whole attack phase, which is pretty sweet. And then also the missile pods here, which are the cryo missiles, he would shoot them out, they would explode and freeze the kaiju. And which I think is a pretty unique and would actually been kind of sweet to see that in the film. But sadly we didn't. But these missile pods actually work for this Jaeger. And what you do is right up here is the buttons that you would push down to shoot the missiles. And then when you push them down, just bam! Works pretty well. Looks, which is actually pretty surprising. Like, I kind of figured these things when I was getting them. When I go to push the button, it would just be like, and called it a day. Just kind of what I'm used to by now. But they actually work pretty well. My only real complaint is that it's actually a little bit of a pain in the butt to get these things in here. You just kind of got to rotate it till it sets into place. But once you get it in, it actually stays in there pretty snug and secure. Grab the other one. That one as well. You just kind of got to mess around with it till you find the little niche that'll lock itself back in. This one's a little bit more of a pain because you'll notice that this little button's kind of shifted down and is sticking inside. And there we go. Got the snap. So as far as gimmick, I actually really love it because it kind of makes him very unique among all the other Jaegers that we have. because not too many of them really have gimmicks that are actually of any real actual merit. Well, this guy actually has sweet little missile pods he shoots on his shoulder, which makes him really sweet in my opinion. And then for the rest of his body, you can see he actually got a lot of armor plating on the front, a little bit of tubes sticking out from his abdomen area. And on the sides here, he's got a little bit of decals here with the up arrow and the 3. And on the side of the missile pods, you get the 3-leaf clover, or I guess it's kind of like a storm cloud too. You got the little lightning bolt sticking out of the bottom. So he's like the Irish Thunder. And then moving to his arms, which actually are a little bit weird, but it's more weird with the articulation, which I'll go over in a second. But it's just overall kind of a weird shape for these guys, because it's, yeah, you can already kind of see what I'm getting at. But for the details on the arm, it's pretty sweet, where you get the little armor plating here on the bend here for the elbow, a little bit of details here on the bicep, a little bit of striped paint here on the arms. And then for his hands, they actually throw me off a little bit, because you notice that they're just your standard 3 fingers. While he actually looks like he has a spot for an additional finger, but there's literally nothing going on there. But I do like that it's actually in more of a clenched pose, where he's kind of his whole gimmick is he just punches and freezes things. So really appreciate it that they actually put him in the meleeing position. Looks really nice. And then for his legs are a little bit different, which what I mean by that is that for his upper body, it's very kind of round, like especially for the arms, a lot of rounded edges. Same with the body, a lot of cylindrical shapes. But when you get down to his legs, they're just stupid boxy. Like it's just kind of like your standard looking mech figure, like you would get with some of the Gundams, or even just like from Armored Core, the Metal Gear Solid, the Rex. And for some of the extra details on here, you got a 3 right here. Not sure what the 3 represents, but it's there. Looks sweet. Then for the rest of his legs, nothing too much going on that I notice. But for his feet, they're actually pretty cool, where they have 3 toes on the front, which are actually each separated. Which this one actually, the toes are slightly shifted under, which is kind of odd. Messing around for a little bit, but nothing too much is going on. Doesn't seem like that part's actually articulated, it's just kind of the way it's been sitting. But he actually has this huge heel back here with a little bit of definition underneath, and a pig hole on the bottom if you have a little stand to put it on. And then for his backside, he actually has a backside like this egg has got a little bit of back to him, which is kind of cool. Again, kind of adds to the cylindrical shape that the upper body has, while again, the lower body is definitely very boxy. And then for the back of the Jaeger, you get all the working mechanisms, which I really don't know what really any of this is, except I know that's a tube. Gives this guy a little bit extra character. And up here, this is where I would imagine the thrusters are for the rocket. Like imagine when you push the button and this guy would fire. This part would have launched out too, because that's actually literally the thruster part where it would like and go flying. But that actually probably would have made this thing stupid huge and not work. So I'm happy with the way they did it. It's just kind of like, on second thought, it's like, that's a little strange. Then for his articulation, his head can go about that far up, that far down, a little bit to the left and the right. It takes a little bit of finesse, just kind of mess around with it so you can get it to rotate a little bit. But it does actually move around a decent amount. For his shoulders, his arm can move about that far up, that far down, can rotate all the way around. Has a rotation at the upper part of the bicep. For his elbows, can bend about that far up, that far down, which, oh my god, it's broken. That's just one crazy bend, especially that it only really goes up about that far. It's just, did he really need that? Just like the, can you have him in like the positions where just the leatherback just like snaps his arm? It's actually kind of neat on a second note. Then for his rotation here, you got a rotation here at the elbow. Then for his, which puts it back up, there we go. Then for his hand, has a little bit of a swivel to it, but the plastic right here kind of gets in the way, because if you start rotating too much, you're going to pop it off the joint here. But it does have a little bit of rotation there. Has a nice bend to it. No articulation for the fingers. Then for his waist, he has actually a really nice tummy crunch, which again, didn't have it originally, and now we do. Then you can rotate all the way around. Also has a swivel here at the upper part too, but that joint's pretty well in there once I got it in, but there's actual double joints up in there, so that's pretty cool. And then for his legs, can move outwards about yay far, inwards about that far. So it can go pretty much all the way up. And if you mess around with it, I'm sure you can get that thing to go all the way around. Same with the back rear. Then he has a bend here at the knee. Actually a really nice bend. Has a little bit of a rotation, but nothing too extravagant because the joint gets in the way there. And then for his feet, can bend a little bit up and down. Nothing too crazy. A little bit of rotation, but again, a lot of this plastic gets in the way of the movement. And for some quick comparison, here we have Horizon Brave compared next to the NECA's Godzilla 2014, Burning Godzilla, and Godzilla 1984. And here we have him next to the Estes Monsters Godzilla 2000 and Kiryu. And the moment you've been waiting for, we have Horizon Brave compared next to the NECA's Pacific Rim Otachi. Which seeing this really makes me want the winged one so bad right now. And here we have him next to the other Pacific Rim Misfit characters with Tacit Ronin and Romeo Blue. And here he is with some of the more noticeable characters with Hong Kong Bro, Gipsy Danger, and Crimson Typhoon. So overall with Horizon Brave, even with the little bit of a hiccup that I had with the frozen abdomen joint, I'm not going to knock him down too much because I imagine I just got really unlucky again, and majority of the figures are going to be working perfectly fine. And for that reason, I actually recommend picking up this figure because for his details, he's actually a really awesome looking figure. Very unique among all the other Jaegers, and I love the fact that he has the missile pods that actually work. And for his articulation, also kind of unique with a lot of the other Jaegers, but it's actually pretty solid, especially when comparing them next to them. So if you guys are looking for another Jaeger to add to your collection, then look no further than Horizon Brave. So what do you guys think? Have you guys picked up Horizon Brave? Have you guys read the comic Pacific Rim Tales from Year Zero, or Power Rangers just more your thing? Please let us know in the comments. We'll have some closer pictures of them on Facebook. If you want to click the link in the description below. Please don't be afraid to share this video around, and if you like this and want to see more stuff like this, please give us a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.